So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's start practice with a centering, please. So finding your comfortable seat, a place of stillness. And from here, we might sense and feel the anchoring or the drifting down of the tailbone without trying to do any muscular effort. And then from the back of the head, imagine sliding the back of the head up a wall as if you're trying to move it, not chin up, but sliding the sort of occipital ridge, the base of the back of the skull up. And there's some space, some freedom that can be felt almost immediately. Sensitive, subtle feeling. And seeing as how it's the week of the 4th of July, I thought it would be fitting to use the theme of freedom. When we think about freedom, we also think about this ease and flow. I wanted to read something to you that's from one of my teachers here. And he's talking about how our quality of freedom or ease and flow, our quality of prana is diminished. That 65% of the population suffers from fatigue, lethargy, and exhaustion, with lack of sleep, unstable blood sugar, technology overwhelm, hormonal imbalances, many common precursors to fatigue. The majority of these people suffer from fatigue are women, particularly postmenopausal women, about 85% of whom experience regular physical and mental exhaustion. And so when we think about a practice like yin, where today we're moving with this intention of freedom, when we can pause, regulate, kind of get out of the way a moment and let the body regulate and reset itself, that quality of prana is enhanced and the fatigue and the exhaustion diminished. Simple, easy practice. Reminding the body how to move away from fatigue and exhaustion and move towards ease and flow. So let's bring the hands together, maybe holding that intention or anything else that you brought to your mat today. And allow the class and the experience to be exactly what you need. Take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, letting go of the hands, softly opening the eyes. All right, ladies, let's start lying down on the mat like we always do. We'll start with our somatic work. All right. And so as we lie down on the mat, we have another opportunity to check in. Sometimes it's hard when you're sitting up, you get a little distracted. And so I want you to just do one thing with me. Well, let's first just relax and then we'll do it. So lying down on the floor, ideally palms are open, feet are a little bit apart, and you're just checking yourself out here. Create an imprint of the heaviness of your body on the mat, as if you were lying on a beach in the sand, and the densest and heaviest parts of you imprint the sand. And so imagining letting go enough so that you feel these imprints. And if you're still enough and you have a little subtle awareness, you might notice, like I can tell right now, that my left hand and my left arm are imprinting more than my right. And all that tells me is that there's a little bit of holding tension in this right side that maybe this practice will help balance out. You might notice things differently. Become aware of the quality of your breathing and how the body is breathing. Does the breath feel like it has some freedom and ease to it? A lot of times the breath will give us information, like if it's a little tense or you keep yawning over and over again. Those are, the yawning is a release of tension in the body, of fatigue in the body. The tension is a nervous system regulation thing. And then we pay attention to the quality of the mind. Do you feel alert? Do you notice a lot of thinking or ruminating? And then finally, the quality of your heart or the state of your emotions. And we just collect all those little bits of pieces of information and then move forward. So what I was going to do before is I want you to take your hands to the back of your head, right at the occipital ridge. So it's the skull, the base of the skull. And I want you to put your hands kind of right behind your head. So I've got my thumbs along the ridge and my fingers along the back of my head. And I'm going to pull my head upward just a little bit, as if I'm tractioning the back of my neck. And then I'm going to put the head back down in that position and rest again. So as I was saying, when we were sitting, when you can feel and sense the elongation of the spine from the base tailbone all the way up through the atlas, which is right where the head rests on, you might feel some ease, some freedom. Now hold on to all of that and just bend your right knee. Leave your left leg down on the floor. And we're going to drop the right knee into the midline, push into the foot a little, and peel the right buttocks off the floor along with the right lower back. Keep the shoulder and the shoulder blade down. And when you get to an end range, I want you to just release it nice and slow and come back to your starting point. Try not to let the knee fall open. So you cross midline, so it's dropping to the center. Push into your foot. Peel your pelvis and lower back off the floor. And then lower. And do it one more time like that. Just super simple. Working on the lower back so as musculature around the lower spine. All right, now this next one, when you come back to center, I want you to put your right arm away from you like a T or even a little higher. See if you can. And then do the same action. Let the knee come in. Peel the hip off, and you're going to feel something different now. That's going to translate up into the shoulder. And if it's too much, just lower your arm or bend your elbow. But find a place where you get some sensation from that lower quadrant of the body all the way up into the upper quadrant. And so just allowing yourself to move in and out, nice and slow. This can be the hardest part, right? Just slowing everything down. And when I read that passage around how much women, especially of our age, are affected by chronic fatigue and exhaustion in the mind and in the body, it really struck me because we try to do so much all the time. And when do we allow ourselves the opportunity to reset? Well, thank goodness you're here. Do one more time. Peeling hip and lower back off the floor, keeping your shoulder and arm down. And then slow and careful release. Now bring your arm down and your leg down for a moment. Just regulate yourself before we go to the other side. And you might want to notice the imprinting from the right side of the body to the left. Now I can tell you from just that one motion, my right arm is back down on the floor like my left arm is. So I reset that action. Go ahead and bend the left leg and we'll do the same thing. Arm down first, just relax. Drop your knee in and then peel your left hip off the floor, lower back off the floor, maybe ribs off the floor, but keep your shoulder down. And then release and come back to center. And do you notice the different ranges from your right to left side? Like you might notice one side moved a lot and the other side isn't moving much at all. You might notice that there's little sticky points in one part of the body on one side and a different part of the body on the other side. Okay, now the next time you bring your hip down and your knee in neutral, bring your arm away from you somewhere. Remember, you can keep the elbow bent. Just keep it down and then continue. And see if you can't sense and feel that action, that gliding and sliding, malleable action around the upper quadrant. And so this somatic work, remember, it's talking much more to your nervous system and your brain. It affects the fascia for sure. Now, what we're trying to do is help the brain reset itself away from these automatic patterns that hold chronic tension in the body, which makes us tired. And so maybe your chronic tension is in your neck, or maybe your chronic tension is in your lower back, or both. They're very connected. Let's do just a couple more. Dropping knee in, peeling hip up, lower back arcing slightly, shoulder staying down. And one more. Alrighty. And then just go ahead and pause here. Legs down, arms down. Take another moment to drop in, let go. Drop in, let go. We're going to do one more here just based on what you were telling me earlier. So leave your legs down and take your arms out to a T. Palms can be up. And I want you to just reach away from your body with your right arm as if you're trying to slide it along the floor and then come back to center. And then do the same thing with your left arm. And your arm might move an inch, it might move 3 inches. It just depends. And come back to center. And go back and forth. And what I want you to notice without you moving your head, what happens when you do the reaches with your head. is there a movement that your head does naturally? It's really interesting to try and get out of the way. Don't think you have to move your body in any particular way, and just watch what the body does. Do you notice that one side is moving a lot and maybe the head moves a lot and the other side doesn't? And if your head is moving from side to side, that's actually a natural action of what's happening in the shoulder joint. Thinking about or letting go of the need to make something happen and just watch to see if anything does happen. Let's do one more in each arm. Just an easy reach, like I'm just sliding my arms along the floor, letting my head do whatever it wants to do. One thing to note when you're doing this type of work, when your head is on the floor, you're at a really relaxed nervous system state. Go ahead and pause in the middle, bring your arms back down, and just check it. So taking a moment here to just drop in, feel the imprint. Notice if there's any more ease or freedom in the body and the breath and the mind. Alrighty. So go ahead and bend your knees. We'll start with our first yin practice. We're just going to end up in a simple twist, but I'm going to change the legs. So ankle, cross, knee. We do this often in this class. Right leg on top, please. Bring your hips over to the left. And we're going to take the right knee down to the floor. I don't want you to change the angle of your legs, so try to keep them in the same shape. And then as you're resting here, you can change your arm position to maybe cactus or T or even a V if that feels really good to you. And remember, we're putting tension against tissues on purpose for time. I'm going to set my timer. We start off with slower or shorter holds, slowly getting the body used to more and more stillness. If it feels good to turn your head to the left, go ahead. Try to let your head and your shoulder, left shoulder and arm feel really heavy. So if they're kind of dangling on the floor, off the floor, you might want to put something underneath your shoulder or underneath your lower leg so that you're not hanging in space. And allowing the breath to just get deeper and deeper as we pause. And we check in again with the quality of our prana, the quality of our energy. We'll call it that. Prana is our energy system, our life force. And when we're exhausted and fatigued, that life force is diminished. And as I have been teaching, probably for the past couple of years at least, that as we crest, I mean, we really should be doing this early stages, like in our 30s and 40s, but nobody ever does, especially women. But as we crest into menopause and postmenopause, we start to have a deeper understanding, a deeper wisdom about resilience. Because the constant doing and the constant busy is a depletion. And then we end up with these issues as we get older. And so, how do we build resilience? Well, taking this class is a great way. Take one more breath here. And then slowly bring yourself back up. Uncross your legs, bring your arms down, and bring your hips back into the middle of the mat. Pause. And you just take a moment to notice the residual sort of sensations from being in a shape like that. And then go ahead and bring your hips, cross your left ankle over your right knee. Bring your hips to the right, arms open again as you let your legs drift to the left. Left thigh rests on the floor, or if it doesn't want to go all the way down on the floor, put something under you. Like this side for me feels really tight. And my bolster just happens to be right here, so I'm going to put my knee on it. And then we rest here for another couple minutes. Try to let your right shoulder get heavy, heavy. If it feels okay, turn your head to the right. Let your head feel heavy. And breathing into anything that feels sticky or tight. You've been taking in with me for a while, so you know that the deep stretch is not really where we want to be. So if it's super strong, back up a little bit so it's a little lighter. We want to allow the fascia to have a chance to be lubricated, and when the fascia is lubricated, it can feel a lot softer. I like to call it an unwinding. If you can imagine an endpoint from any endpoint, think of a piece of rope or maybe a piece of clay, and it's real tight, full of knots all the way through. But if you start to put a little tension on it and you start to uh, what's the word? Malleate? That's not the word. Where you want to massage it and unwind the knots and unwind the tightness, it gets softer. And the ribbon or the rope gets longer and softer, and the clay gets softer, malleable. That's the word I was looking for, more malleable. That's what we're doing to the fascia. It's really similar. The less you move, the better it is. Take a nice deep breath. And then bringing yourself back up. Arms down by your side. Uncross your leg and come back into the middle. And drop all the way down now. Imprint in the sand. Alrighty. So this next one, I want you to turn on your, let's say, right side. So you're going to be the sideline. And if you want to put something under your head, you're more than welcome to do that. Or you can use your arm. So I happen to have this little bean bag here that I like to use. And you're going to bring your knees up so that you're in a curled up position, kind of like you're laying out, going to bed. And you want your hips stacked on top of each other, shoulders stacked on top of each other. And then from here, I want you to reach down and grab your top leg, ankle, or foot. Ideally the top of the foot, but if you can't do that, grab your ankle. Keeping your knee and your hip in line, start to bring that knee toward the wall that's your knee is facing on the opposite side of the room. And the tendency here is to fall backwards. And so try to imagine bringing your hips slightly forward while you bring your foot backward. Now, you're working in the front of the leg and the inner part of the front of the hip and groin. So I'm just holding my foot and I'm bringing my knee back. My bottom leg is resting on the floor. And I'm in a sideline quadricep stretch is basically what this is. I want you to think about your shoulder being back on your body, but don't fall backwards. And we're breathing. And so letting your head rest on something, whether it's on your arm or on a pillow or a blanket, try to find a place of stillness. And if the sensation around the front of your thigh and knee go away, just bring the foot a tiny little bit further back, like maybe a quarter of an inch. I've got my heel toward my buttocks and may or may not touch. We just breathe and relax, finding that freedom and that ease and flow in the mind, in the body, in the nervous system. And you might notice that things are starting to let go, like you might find some clickety clacks going on in your spine, or you might notice that there's sensation in a place in the body that you weren't even paying attention to before. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I can really feel that there. That's the really beautiful part of yin. Take a nice deep breath. And then go ahead and slowly bring this leg back up to center. Let your knees wrap and sit on top of each other while you just push yourself up with your bottom arm. And then we're going to turn around and do the same thing on the other side. So lying on your left side, supporting your head. Remember, your knees are right in front of you. It's just like if you were laying down, going to take a nap. Make sure your hips are stacked and your shoulders are stacked. And then reach down and grab your right foot, top leg foot. And you might drop your knee and lift your foot up. Try to put them all in one straight line. And then just gently start to move the leg backward. And you're going to find a place where you're either going to feel like you're falling over or you've got a fairly good sensation in the front of your leg. And then you just pause here. Letting go of any perception of what this needs to look like. It's really your journey, your exploration in your own body. And I always like to remind my students of the unique opportunity this class offers to really notice the subtlety in the body and have a relationship with the sensations that you feel. Like I'll give you, for instance, when I did my left side, I felt, you know, some sensations up the front of my leg and a little bit in my belly. On this side, I feel it in my knee. And I know that, remember, fascia wraps around the joints to hold them together. And so a lot of times it's not that there's anything wrong with your knees or your joints at all. People jump to that right away, like, oh, I have a knee problem. No, you don't. You might have a fascia problem. And if you just take some time, there might be a real release that happens. And then you've got way more freedom. And I love that about this practice. Boy, we didn't have that when I was younger, that's for sure. Another 15 seconds or so for 2 minutes. All right, take a nice deep breath. And then slowly release your leg. Let your arm come forward. Let your knee come forward. And then lay down on your back. Imprint again. Let your legs be down. Let your arms be down. And then when you're ready, I want you to bend your knees. We're going to roll over to our sides and press yourself up. If you have a bolster, I want you to use your bolster. If you don't have a bolster, I want you to use your blanket and wrap it or roll it up so it's tight. So I have a blanket here, and I could use this one, but you can see how flat it is. There's not much to it. So it would be nice for it to have some density. So I could fold it in quarters because this is a very thick, hard yoga blanket. So now I made it thicker. It's almost as thick as my bolster. And if you have a thick blanket, this will work. Otherwise, you're going to not do this part. If you have a bolster, you can take your block and put it on the lower or middle side so that your blanket or bolster is elevated like mine. If you don't have a bolster and your blanket's too cushy, can you find another blanket or maybe roll the end up so it can become a pillow for your head? Okay. And then from here, I want you to put your bottom right up against the base of the blanket or the bolster. We're going to lie back over it so that your lower back is supported and your head is higher, your heart is higher than your pelvis. And you've got some choices for your legs. Now, if you feel any tension in your lower back, the best thing to do is put something else again underneath your head. Because a lot of times when we bring the head up, especially if the neck is bothering us, that will take the tension away the lower back. Remember, they're very connected. And when you get here, you can decide, oh, I like this position. I'm going to put my legs down. I want your arms away from you. This is really for your front body to get into the density of the collarbones and the front of the shoulders and the chest. If it feels comfortable, you can bend your knees and let your feet touch so your knees are apart in this butterfly kind of shape. And if neither of those work, just keep your knees bent or even knees touch in constructive rest. Now, last couple of weeks, actually, I was dealing with some back issues. Just stuff moving out of my body. So I had to really give it some time. And even laying in this position wasn't available to me last week. It was not going to be something my body was going to do. And so you just never know. Every day, every week, every month, it's a little different. So remember, finding a place where you can put tension against tissues on purpose. In my body today, I'm not feeling a lot, but I bet if I wrapped my hands around my elbows and brought my arms up over my head, I'd feel more. Yep. And so remember, we're not trying to create a big, deep stretch. We're just looking for sensations that are subtle. That's going to help put pressure against this fascia so that the fascia can soften. It's the same thing a massage therapist does. That's why you feel so good when you're done. Staying hydrated, that was our healthy habit for the whole month of June. And in the heat, it's so important. Staying hydrated with all kinds of foods and water and liquids. That doesn't hydrate the fascia, unfortunately, but it hydrates the rest of the cells. And so you're in just a very gentle back bend, allowing your body to have this expansion in the front. The shape is just a little longer hold. Again, allowing the body to get used to the stillness, the pause. All right, take a nice deep breath. And if your legs are in any shape other than knees bent, bring them up. Knees face the ceiling, feet on the floor. Once you're in that shape, roll to your side and push yourself up away from the floor and away from your props. All right, so let's take your body to the opposite position now. And if you have a bolster, let's use the bolster blanket and put it so that our legs are in butterfly pose. The knees are in an open position. Feel free to sit up on a blanket if that feels good to your back. And remember, when you sit up on something, you want to sit just on the edge of your sitting bones so that it tilts your pelvis forward. And you've got a couple choices here. So if you don't have a bolster, you can use the blocks as a prop for your head. I want you to find something for your head. So if I'm going to be in this shape, I've got my bolster. I'm going to start to lean forward, and I can't quite get my head on my one block. Remember, I told you I was dealing with a back issue. So I'm going to have to create a tower so that I can put my head on something. And I want you to do the same. If you can rest right between your eyebrows, that's a great place to rest. If you've got a bolster, you can stretch your arms out over the bolster. If you don't have a bolster, let your arms rest down by your side or on your legs. And as we find a place to rest, we start to notice now the back of the body. We start to notice the outer line of the legs. Enjoy the curious exploration of sensation as we pause here. And as we pause, we notice the quality of prana and the freedom or lack thereof in the body mind. And we soften into the shape. We allow the breath to deepen. And as we do in meditation, if you get distracted, just bring yourself back to your sensations and your breath. Let your body anchor you. Mhm. Take a nice deep breath. And slowly starting to move away from that shape. That was a longer hold, so you always want to come out of that nice and slow. And when you have your head on something like that, it really does help you to feel a little bit more inward and quiet. So holding on to that as we come away from the shape, bring the legs together, stretch the legs down, go ahead and rotate the feet and the ankles. So the next shape I want to do is in a kneeling position. So come to hands and knees. Remember to pad your knees if you need to. And take your knees a little wider apart. You might want to have your blanket or your block nearby if you decide you want to use it. So hips go back towards your heels. And we're moving towards extended child's pose. So what I'd like you to think about is freeing up some of the stickiness around the shoulders. So if you just lay down onto your mat and you relax your arms, maybe there's nothing happening. So you could stretch your arms out, maybe take them wider and put your head on the floor. You could see how that feels. You could put your elbows on the floor and bring your hands together and bring your hands like prayer hands behind your head. Wiggle your elbows forward, create some tension that way. The other thing that's nice to do is to use a blanket or a bolster. And you do the same thing. You can reach out over the bolster. Your forehead could touch your bolster while your arms are reaching out over the bolster. You're not as low to the floor and you still can get this sensation. You might want to play with grabbing your elbows. So find a place where you can be, not so that you're comfortable, but so that you're putting tension against the tissues on purpose. So everybody's a little different and depends on what's going on with your neck and shoulders. But I like forehead on whatever it is I'm propped up on. So I'm using my bolster and I'm wiggling my arms forward enough so that there's some sensation going on in my shoulders. For me, bending the elbows brings a little bit more into the mix so that my hands are behind my head. And then just know a secondary benefit of this shape that we do often in this type of class is you're putting pressure against the knees and the feet and the toes. And that's a real nice way to create that tension around the fascia of those joints. And so allowing your upper body, the shoulders and the chest, to feel like they're releasing toward the floor. There's nothing underneath them, ideally, so hopefully there's a sensation of letting go or dropping down. Got about another 30 seconds or so. So just see how much you can release here. And then take a nice deep breath. And then start to bring yourself up away from the floor. We're going to stay in this shape for another little bit. So I want you to come forward first, come to table, and stretch your legs out one at a time. Open up the back of the knee. You might take a breath or two on each side. Pause long enough for there to be some residual reaction. So you might feel a stretch in your calf, sensation up the back of your leg, but deliberately straighten that leg so that it does feel like you're opening up that tissue. And then we're going to go back again with the knees wide and the hips back. And we're going to go into a similar shape. If you're using a bolster or blanket, you might want to turn it lengthwise. Depends again on your body. So take your right arm underneath your left arm. Reach your right arm way away from you so that you're leaning a little bit to the left. And then drop your right shoulder and your right ear to the floor. Now you can see, if you're looking at me, I've got the bolster under my head. Because for me, this is a really big action. And I don't really like to be on the floor. And so you're finding your place here, trying to keep your pelvis down and level. You're turning from your upper body, resting your head. With your top hand, you can push a little or reach a little to create a little bit more of a rotation in your torso. Remember not to work the pose. Maybe you put your hand on your lower back instead. Find where there is some tension. And then pause. Don't make it too hard. Let your hips be back towards your feet, like in child's pose. And you're breathing into the sensations, creating that freedom and ease in the upper body. See how much you can soften into the shape for the last 10 seconds. Just let yourself be imprinting into the ground, into your body. And then take a nice deep breath. And slowly bring yourself back up. We've got one more side, so come back to tabletop. Stretch your legs out again, one and then the other. If your legs aren't used to being in that deep knee bend, they may not like it very much. This is where your discernment is. Do we need to put a towel or a blanket behind the knees so that there's extra padding? Or does that feel good ultimately? One more time, knees are wide, feet are together, hips go back wherever they can. Left hand goes under right, and stretch that right hand forward or out on the floor so that your left shoulder and left ear can rest on something. Again, deciding, do I want to stretch my right arm up
Do I want to bring my right hand up around my lower back? Finding a place where you can be sensing into this side and this shape. And breathing. Letting the hips feel heavy. The left shoulder feel heavy. Maybe the right shoulder is a little lighter. You can turn open a little bit more, but remember not to work the posture. I remember years and years ago, I was at a yoga week-long conference working with my teacher at the time. And I was a lot younger and a lot more active and thought I was really all that. And I had a private session with him. And I'll never forget it. He looked right at me and he said, I feel and I sense your fatigue and your depletion. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly start to unwind yourself. One more time, come back to tabletop, moving your props away from the floor or away from your mat and stretch your legs out one at a time. And so I remember that really kind of hurt my feelings. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not tired. I'm not, I'm fit. I'm healthy. I can do all the things. But he could see something that I didn't even know was there. Go ahead and relax and come to your back body. We'll find Shavasana. And that's what this reading was about this morning, that we live with this fatigue and this exhaustion. We don't even know we have it because it's just part of our normal existence. But it's really important to pay attention to the sense of depletion or a prana. There's no life, there's no energy. It's just kind of dull. And then you try to make it better by working out harder or doing something else, walking longer, whatever you do. And really, what you need is practices like this. So, finding your way to Shavasana, this is your ultimate juice, the ultimate juice for building resilience. Shavasana is not sleep. Shavasana is a deep integration of the practice that we just did. So finding your way to the floor, nice and slow. Maybe there's a cover up, maybe there's something supporting against your hips or legs. Find something that helps you to feel grounded. Can you feel that imprint one last time? Making the imprint in the sand. The heaviness of the body, the different parts of the heaviness of the body, the heaviness of the head. And as you take that nice long deep breath, just allow yourself to move completely into stillness for the last few minutes.
Take a longer and deeper breath. And slowly and gently starting to move the body. When you feel ready, you can bend your knees, rolling to a side, pausing for a moment or two. And then find your way up to sitting. We'll close the practice. Bringing the hands to the heart center, noticing the quality of your prana, the freedom and the ease and flow in the body-mind. And gratitude always for our time together on the mat, our deep body wisdom and guiding light. May our light always shine brightly, and may we always see the light in each other. Namaste.